Hi, I'm Abby Glassenberg, and I want to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Today I'm talking with Raya Tomaszewskis, a founding member of a really neat company based in Toronto called Monster Factory. Monster Factory makes incredibly cute and totally original plush monsters that I'm in love with. I think they're just awesome. And their business model is also intriguing to me. So I'm really excited to learn more about that today too. Hi, Raya. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hi, Abby. I'm really excited.
All right, great. So to start out, tell me the story of Monster Factory, like how it began and how you've grown.
Okay, for sure. Well, we have a little bit of a complicated start, but I'll try and make it more concise. We started with Adam Dunn and Bliss Mann, my two other business partners, and I met Adam at film school, and Bliss was a fashion designer, and she met Adam through working on a film. And doing the costumes. And Adam and I actually started creating some plush characters together based on a logo he designed for a film company. And we got together, and the first few monsters that we created were a total disaster, and they were like, we were just like, I don't think this is working. But Adam thought, why don't we ask my friend Bliss to come and help, because she's a fashion designer and she might be able to give us some information on how to pattern draft. So she came along and showed us how to actually make something out of textiles, and how to take an idea to a finished concept. And we created a line together, sort of just organically, of 6 characters called the Heartbreakers. And we thought they were really funny and that there was something to them. And so after the design was created, we thought we should name them. And then we did little character brainstorms for each one and gave them a little write-up. And then we launched them at just a small launch with family and friends in, I think, November of 2003. And we sold out above these 100 characters we made. So we thought, okay, we got to keep doing this. And so moving on, we went on to start with some smaller trade shows. I think they were more like arts and crafts shows. We did some in Toronto. There's a big show called the Toronto Outdoor Art Show, which is a place where we started with like a bunch of different designs. And then we moved on to the One of a Kind show, which happens here in Toronto, Chicago, and I'm not sure if it's still in Vancouver, but it was. And our first One of a Kind show, I think we sold out in the first weekend. It's an 11-day show. And, it kind of just grew from there. So we just kept going with creating more series and more characters. And it really was just a very organic, it came from an art project that moved into a business.
Wow, that is really interesting. And I see on your website that the Heartbreakers are still here.
They are. We try to keep all of the characters on our website, even if they are unavailable, which is sometimes frustrating for our customers, but just so people can see like all of the characters that we've created. And I think a lot of, people grow attached to them and they don't want to see them just disappear. So we like to have them available, at least so you can see sort of the evolution of our monsters and all the series that are around.
So I think your characters are incredibly imaginative. And I love that although they vary in color, like some are pink, some are blue, some are green, and they have different shapes. Each one has sort of a different shape, and some of them have different expressions. They look sort of surprised or glad, but they all have a similar Monster Factory look, And
like
I'm
feel.
wondering, yeah. So do you have like design guidelines that you follow to ensure that every toy is cohesive to your Monster Factory kind of look and feel?
Well, I would say what actually happens is that our materials almost guide us more, because we've been working on our design and character development for many years now. So there's definitely something that's evolved. But when we started, we're working with a micropolar fleece that's very stretchy. So it lends itself well to rounder, more fuller shapes. If the fabric was different, I think the design, like the end process, would be a little different. But I think that our materials kind of guide that uniformity throughout the design, if that makes sense. But there's 3 designers, and I think that's part of our strength, which is why our characters are all, like, some of them are very different in their series. Like, if you look at the Forgotten Lore series, a character like Wilma, who looks kind of like a cabbage, is very different than a character like Bradley, who looks like a bright red monster. Like,
Oh
he's
my
kind of
God,
like,
I love Wilma. Look at
Wilma
her
is
cabbage.
amazing.
She's so great.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, so it's interesting because we have a very collaborative design process. So, I might create a character, and then Bliss might look at it and say, I have an idea for something else, and she'll take maybe an element of that character and start to design something else, and then Adam will be like, well, hey, I've got an idea as well. And our prototyping process is quite involved and can be quite lengthy. So one character can take, I can take a week to get to the final stage if you're just patterning, because we go through lots of discussions on how they should look. So, there are definitely things that, the eyes are they're a signature look. The very stuffed feel is a signature look. And that came because we found when we didn't stuff them enough, they didn't maintain their shape. So a lot of those things that are really Monster Factory came, I think, out of just making sure that they looked good and they had a clean design, and just using the materials that we had available.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's almost like the materials guided the design process, but I do think that those eyes are very unique and very signature.
They're definitely our Monster Factory look.
So
we have some that have screened faces as well, which we love doing, but they're a little bit more difficult to make here in our studio, because you need to have those pieces sort of sent out, and then we have to cut them by hand. So the eyes are a little bit, they're easier for us to make.
So which one, tell me the name of one of the series that has the screened faces.
For example, the Monster Knots.
Okay.
So that's Kyle, Douglas, and Pax. And they're also a great example of 3 monsters who I would say they're unified by color, really, because their shapes are dramatically different. Like, Kyle's a very short, sort of round robot, and Pax is a tiny limbed personal assistant. He helps Douglas, who's very tall, and Douglas is our sort of, I think he's a scientist. He loves the cosmos. And so they all work together as a series, and their story kind of pulls them together. But I think their design is quite different.
Yeah, definitely. And their colors and their faces, they have the same eyes as one another, although, the mouths are different. But
yes.
But you're right. The unification here comes with the color.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you have, if you look at your site, you have over 100 different characters, which I think is just incredibly impressive. And it looks like you release the new designs twice a year. Have you found that sticking to a limited release schedule helps to build momentum and excitement among your customers for the new designs?
Absolutely. That schedule kind of started out of, it came from when we were doing the one-of-a-kind shows, because there would be one at Christmas and one in the spring. So we'd always be releasing new monsters kind of on 2 times a year. But we found that it really works because, you can build some momentum and some buzz about the new characters, and get everyone excited about who's coming. I think we're working sort of like, as we move into selling our monsters at retail, into maybe a more frequent release schedule, but we haven't entirely decided on that yet. But for sure, twice a year has always been really great for us.
And I'm sure that there are collectors out there who sort of wait until the new ones come.
Yeah, and we love releasing the new characters. It's exciting to add to a series or to create a brand new series, and that's one of the best parts about having a monster factory is getting to create monsters.
Right. Absolutely. And that's what it's all about,
Exactly.
Right. So you started out as a team of 3 people, and I actually think that that's really unusual for a plush business. It sounds like you each brought sort of different skills and vision to the table, but most plush businesses that I've heard of, at least, sort of started with a single person, and then when they grow large enough to want to do bigger shows or do retail or get distribution, then they end up hiring people to help out. So I'm kind of interested in the difference in your inception. So tell us a little bit about how you kind of started and then grew a little bit larger.
Well, we were all friends, and then we started out just the 3 of us for quite a long time. And I think having 3 people was really great because it gave us our designs are very. There's a variety in the design, and it also helped us, I think, do things a little faster, like challenge each other to do things that maybe you wouldn't have done on your own. Because you had each other to sort of lean on and be like, we can do this, like we can do this big show, even though part of me, our first one-of-a-kind show, I don't know if it had just been me or just Bliss or Adam on their own. I don't think any of us would have done it after just a year of creating characters. But yeah, well, we started in a living room, and essentially we had 2 sewing machines and a big cutting table. And as we got bigger, we just took over that space. And then we were just like, we need a bigger space. And luckily at the time, we found a studio space in a place called the Toronto Business Development Center, which offered sort of cheaper rental spaces for emerging businesses. And so we started out there with a small studio, and then we started working with the Ryerson fashion program, and we started to get interns from the fashion program to help us with some of the production.
Is that like a local college?
It's a local university.
Okay.
It's an awesome place full of talent, and we've gotten some amazing people from that program. And Bliss is actually a graduate of that program, so she had an in. And we've hired people since that were interns. So we really loved being able to use those facilities, I guess. It's not the right word, but it was very helpful. So we had some interns, and then we had a small studio space, which then went to the 2nd floor into a bigger studio space. And yeah, we just kept growing. We now have the Business Development Center has moved. And so we have now moved to a downtown studio in Toronto, which is at Richmond and Spadina. And we love it. It's right downtown. We're right in the heart of the city. It's a lot of great inspiration and being around a lot of creative people. So we just it was really organic. It was small steps, but like growing to where we are now.
So how do you still have just the 3 of you who are like paid staff members?
So there's the 3 of us now that we're still all here. And we have a studio manager and another designer who's been brought on. Her name is Jennifer Jang, and she is amazing. And she's full-time with us. And we have a writer who works with us and helps create our content and write our characteristics. And we have one other designer who helps, more graphic design with our graphics and whatnot.
Wow. So that's fantastic. So is that 6 people now altogether?
That would be 6 people. And then of course we have sort of this crew of stuffers who come in and help us stuff our monsters. And they're it's sort of a part-time thing, and we get people in and out that come to help stuff all of our monsters. And that's actually one of the toughest jobs, stuffing. We couldn't do it without them.
That's amazing. And I think that's a pretty hilarious part-time job for people. Yeah. I'm a monster stuffer.
A monster stuffer,
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
That's great. So are they mostly college students?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I could use a couple of those in my studio too.
Yeah, well,
That's pretty great.
it's definitely it definitely keeps things interesting
Yeah.
and fun in the office.
Yeah, that's really pretty neat. So these interns from the fashion college, do they do or did they do other things besides stuff? Like what else did you have them do?
Well, when our interns came in, we actually had them sewing, and then as they sort of stayed with us, we started to have them design things like monsters, and that's really exciting to see someone sort of step into that process and see what comes out of their brains as characters. So yeah, we just sort of train them on how we work, and it's been kind of awesome to see what came out of that.
Yeah, what a
But
neat opportunity for people.
totally, and I mean, it's mostly when the interns start, they're sewing and cutting and doing like production work, almost like you might do, I would think, in fashion, but we're changing that process to monster making.
Right. That's pretty cool. So I just wanted to go back really quickly to ask about how big are these guys? It's a little bit hard to tell on the
Yes.
site. So how big is like the average Monster Factory monster?
The average Monster Factory monster is, I'm going to say, like about 10 plus 10 inches.
Okay,
I think like they range
right.
quite a bit, and they we have minis too, which are around 5 inches tall. I'm going to say 10 to 12 for our studio edition monsters, which are the monsters that we have made here in Toronto.
Okay.
But yeah, around that size, they're huggable.
Right. Okay. Cool. So so I do want to talk a little bit about maybe we should do that now about
Sure.
having the monsters made in your studio in Toronto versus having monsters made in an actual sort of factory in the conventional sense, like an overseas factory. So do you do some of both, and how did that shift come about?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a great question. So we, when we have a line of studio edition monsters. Now our studio edition monsters are the monsters that we make here in Toronto, either in our studio, or we use a contractor here in Toronto that helps us with some of the sewing. But it was again another very organic process where we were starting. We were selling our monsters direct to our customers, and then we really wanted to start to get into the retail market, and we did a couple of trade shows of wholesale shows, and we were using the monsters, and to do those shows we had to move and find someone who could help with the sewing, and that's how we found our Toronto contractor. But it was very difficult to find anyone to work with in Canada, and not a lot of people would even, have a conversation with us because we were toy makers, and people really don't make toys here. It's not something that they still make fashion or clothing and whatnot, but toys were different. So we were really lucky to find someone to work with. And so we did a couple of shows in for retail. But really, it just came down to being competitive with pricing, and we couldn't do that with our Canadian-made monsters. So we then took a step back and did a lot of research, and we started to look into manufacturing overseas. And my business partner Bliss heads our manufacturing. And she went over to China and went to the factories and did her research and met with people, and it's just about sort of a back and forth, much like our back and forth with our contractors in Toronto. It was very similar, where you give someone your pattern and they give you a sample, and then you have to give them approval if it's good or not, give them the changes. But we've had, I would say, some we've done really that process of going overseas and having the monsters created in another factory has been fairly smooth, because I think we've always had the mindset that we're making multiples of our characters. And because we've had to make them in our studio, we've always designed them to be made like we want to make them as efficiently and I want to say like, repetitively. So our patterns I just think they translated very easily when we took them to the factories.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I was going to jump in to say that from what I've heard from talking to a lot of different people who've had their toys manufactured overseas, two things. One, actually going to China and visiting the factories themselves and seeing things yourself, I think is a pretty unique thing. It sounds to me like a lot of people don't actually travel. They sort of work through, contacts and connections, but they don't actually go and see it themselves. So I think that must have probably helped. And the other thing I was going to say is that you had, as you said, you had all the pattern pieces, and you had already developed a system for making those pattern pieces come together efficiently and neatly, and so you'd already kind of developed that. When you talk to a factory overseas and you don't have a pattern made, that's when you can have a lot of frustration because the prototype comes back and it doesn't look like what you had in mind, and then there's communication, language barrier and stuff. So because you kind of skipped over that piece of it and came in already with a plan and with pattern pieces and sewing instructions, and you were there in person, I'm imagining that's why you've had a smoother experience.
Definitely. And just, just really doing your research. And we are making sure to have, I know that a lot of people recommend having inspections done. And you can never be too careful when you're doing, when you're sending your product anywhere. It's frustrating that it's far away, I think, for us. It's nice. It's great having a contractor here in Toronto that you can just go and see. But you just have to be patient and really be firm with what you want, and and just make it happen, I guess.
So getting these Monster Factory toys manufactured overseas. Now, did that end up allowing you to have competitive pricing when you would go to the larger trade shows?
Absolutely. So that's exactly why we did it, because we want to create a collectible brand, and also the line that we're releasing. We're launching in May, June with this new line of retail minis. They are smaller, so they're also we can put more characters, and we're targeting a specialty market, so we can really push our characters to those stores. So they're smaller. You can put more out. Our studio edition monsters, though awesome and we love them, they're a lot bigger. And when you're trying to create a collectible brand in a store that doesn't have a lot of space, it's hard to put a lot of monsters out. So we're starting with the minis, and we'll be releasing them in series. And we've just done a lot of research, and we're really excited about this retail launch in May and June.
Awesome. So I know that when I first contacted you, you were just about to head out to Toy Fest West.
Yeah.
So I want to hear a little bit about that experience, especially as like an emerging plush business surrounded, I'm imagining, by some more established businesses at a big trade show like that.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome. It's really exciting to do these shows. You make so many contacts, and you just meet great people, and we've found that everyone has been really nice to talk to, and then of course you're out there with your product and you're getting to meet retailers and tell them about them, and we've got a lot of excitement behind the brand. So the shows have been just a great time, and a lot of work, but it's really exciting to take something that you've been growing for years and then bring it to market. And we just can't wait to see it get out there and see people collecting the monsters.
Yeah, that's really cool. So congratulations on that. That sounds like a really great experience. So tell us what's coming up on the horizon for Monster Factory. What's going to be new and exciting coming down the line?
Well, I already said the retail launch is coming, so that means that monsters will be available across North America, and we're working on getting them into into Europe, and like I think on the horizons, or what we'd love to see, is just like monsters all over the world. I think we'd like to get the toy brand established and really establish that collectible element of our characters and be able to release, limited monsters that people can collect. Like, you never know. We have so many ideas.
Right.
But we'd love to expand the product line to include other things, keychains. Be great to have trading cards. Just really grow the Monster Factory brand, and who knows, entertainment would be a great thing to add on down the line. But right now, we're really just focusing on pushing out our collectible characters into North America. So I just can't wait to see the monsters get out into the world.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And we'll start looking for them in local toy stores nearby. That's so cool.
And I should also mention we have a really big community online as well with our Facebook, and I don't know if you check those out, but we have a great social community that we like, where our fans can come and sort of take part in contests and communicating with the monsters and share their photos. So we're also trying to build that as well.
That's great. So tell us where we can find Monster Factory online.
Well, you can find us the best place to go is our website, which is monsterfactory.net. And from there, you can find our Facebook page, our Twitter, and our Pinterest, and our Tumblr, and our Instagram. But I would say just go to the website and go from there.
Awesome. That sounds so great. And I love, I follow you on Twitter, and I love the little pictures of the monsters wherever you travel, wherever you're going. There
Yes.
they are, experiencing the world and commenting on what they see. I just think it's hilarious.
Well, and we love fostering that type of play, I guess, with the characters. I love getting photos from our fans and seeing, where they've taken their monsters. We just got a photo from one of our fans of they dressed their Bradley up as Billy Idol, and they call him Bradley Idol, and it's just making those hilarious comments on and comparing the monsters just to the everyday. It's awesome. It's just really great to see people taking their monsters out. And
I'm betting a lot of your fans are not just kids. Am I right?
You're right. Yeah, we have we say monsters are for all ages, and like it's true. Your grandmother will love them. Your 7-year-old will collect them, and then we've got that 25 to 35-year-old element that just like to have them in their office and on their desks. Yeah, they're just for everyone.
That's right. That's the best thing about plush, right? It's for everyone.
It's for everyone.
That's
We're all
why we
big
love
kids.
it. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Raya. I think this was a really interesting interview, something really interesting to learn about, and I love Monster Factory. I hope everybody will go and check it out, and then look for the retail line in their stores coming up, sometime pretty soon.
Yeah, me too. And thank you so much, Abby, for contacting us and talking to us. It's been awesome.
Awesome. All right, so bye, Raya.
Bye-bye.